The U.S. war against Iran is entering a new, prolonged phase. U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday urged Iran to wise up quickly and sign a peace agreement. For more than a week now, attempts by diplomatic mediators to bring the warring parties to the negotiating table have yielded no results. Therefore, Trump instructed his aides to prepare for a prolonged naval blockade of Iran. The president believed that other options, such as resuming bombings or, on the contrary, ending the war, carried greater risks than simply maintaining the blockade. Trump expects that pressure on Iran's economy, including restrictions on the country's oil exports, will force Tehran to capitulate on the nuclear issue. Meanwhile, in Tehran itself, it seems they still haven't found a unified response to the U.S. proposal. My name is Alexei Pechi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and leave any comment you wish. Also subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, urged Iran to wise up quickly and sign a peace agreement as soon as possible. He stated that there has been a collapse of the state in Tehran and it would be better for them to find a solution. However, Trump did change his form of pressure a little bit. The Wall Street Journal, citing American officials, reported that Trump told his aides to prepare for a prolonged naval blockade of Iran in order to force the Islamic Republic to surrender. According to officials, Trump decided to continue putting pressure on Tehran by strangling its economy, especially by targeting oil exports by sea. Since other options, such as resuming bombings or withdrawing from the war, carry greater risks. And without Congress's approval, Trump can no longer continue the active phase of the war. But Iran now wants to get some kind of recognition from the U.S. of its right to enrich uranium for purposes that, as it claims, are peaceful and civilian. Iran's stockpiles amount to about 440 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%. And this material can already be used for several types of nuclear weapons after further enrichment. And on Tuesday, Trump, dissatisfied with Tehran's peace plan, wrote that Iranian state institutions have already been destroyed, and the regime is simply looking for someone to appoint to leadership positions. In the draft proposal delivered through Pakistani intermediaries, Iran offered the United States to first agree on a ceasefire and the resumption of shipping. But the issue of the nuclear program should be set aside for now. This does not satisfy Washington. And accordingly, they say that no, we will keep putting pressure so that Iran capitulates. On Tuesday, a representative of the Iranian armed forces said that the Islamic Republic does not consider the war to be over. Trump, however, wrote on the social network Truth Social that the Iranian side is asking the US to lift the naval blockade. Иранских портов. Дальше его цитата. Iran has just informed us that it is in a state of collapse. They want us to immediately open the Strait of Hormuz while they try to fix the situation with their leadership, which I am sure they are capable of doing. At the same time, high-ranking Iranian sources said that Tehran had offered the US its peace plan, which involved step-by-step negotiations. The first step was supposed to be negotiations. The cessation of the war, which has been going on for 2 months, and providing guarantees that the US will not resume military actions in the future. Then the negotiators were supposed to resolve the issue of the naval blockade by the US Navy and the fate of the Hormuz Strait, which Iran intended to reopen while retaining control over shipping. And only then, according to Tehran's plan, could negotiations on other issues be planned, including nuclear programs. At the same time, Iran wants the US to recognize its right to enrich uranium. But the problem for Donald Trump here is that such conditions resemble the 2015 agreement signed by Iran, the US, and other world powers, in which Iran's nuclear development was significantly limited but not halted. And during his first term, let me remind you, Trump unilaterally withdrew from this nuclear agreement, not Iran. And now everything is heading back to the same conditions again. So, Trump understands that if he agrees to Tehran's terms, then in fact, nothing really changes. So why was this whole war necessary in the first place? There's another problem. A war with Iran is not popular with American voters right now. and public pressure on the administration is growing, forcing the White House to look for a way to quickly end the war. And according to a Reuters Ipsos poll, Trump's approval rating has dropped to its lowest level. The share of respondents approving of the US president's policies has dropped to 34%. New signs of tension are also being observed in the relationship between Trump and the European allies. The American president wrote on social media that the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to Iran. Well, there Trump really got personal and started manipulating. That's what I don't like about Trump. It's the way he manipulates. When he said that supposedly Friedrich Merz wants Iran to get nuclear weapons. Merz never said anything like that. The same thing Donald Trump said that the Pope wants Iran to get nuclear weapons. The Pope never said anything like that. So basically, everyone who opposes Trump's policies automatically becomes, in his eyes, a supporter of Iran getting nuclear weapons. But here is what Merz actually said. He said that the Iranian leadership is playing a smart game and publicly humiliating the United States. Merz also noted that, in his opinion, the Trump administration has no exit strategy from the military conflict at all. At the same time, the World Bank predicts that energy prices will eventually jump by 24% in 2026, reaching the highest level since the start of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. In a scenario where most supplies resume as early as May, if they don't resume, the situation is even worse. The United Arab Emirates, as you know, announced on Tuesday that they will leave the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and the OPEC Plus group starting May 1, which indicates disagreements among the Gulf countries regarding Iran. As for the US blockade, ship tracking data shows that in recent days at least 6 tankers loaded with Iranian oil were forced to turn around at sea and return to Iranian ports. The spokesperson for the Iranian government nevertheless stated that Tehran is using northern, eastern, and western trade corridors to neutralize the effects of the blockade. They say they have ways to bypass this blockade. And finally, I'll add that before the war, between 125 and 140 ships passed through the Strait of Hormuz every day. But on Tuesday, there were none. Among the ships that passed through the Strait, there wasn't a single oil tanker carrying oil to the world markets. And it looks like it's only going to get worse. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.